Hi, AJ Hartley here, novelist, Shakespeare professor, fan of many things. Happy New Year, it's 2023. And I'm going to talk today about a TV show. Most of the time when I've talked about TV, it's been Japanese TV or things leading into a consideration of a Japanese TV show. But today I'm going to do something different. As I've said many times, I'm a fan of good television. I think it's a form that often doesn't get the credit that it deserves in mainstream culture, insofar as there is such a thing as mainstream culture anymore. Anyway, but I want to talk about a British TV show called Detectorists.
Will you search through the lonely earth for me? Climb through the briar and bramble. I'll be your treasure. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you.
And I'm talking about it now because after 3 seasons and 1 Christmas special, they just did another Christmas special, which seems to be the end of the show. And so it seemed like a good time to talk about it, since there may never be any more, and if there is, it's not going to come for a long time. So the show is it's a comedy. Has sort of dramatic elements to it, but it's small, it's quiet, and it centers on characters who are metal detectorists, people who use metal detectors as a hobby to go out and hunt in fields where they get permissions, looking for ancient stuff. Of course, mostly what they find is modern junk, ring pulls, bits of old cans.
What you got?
Matchbox car. Chevrolet Corvette. How in God's name does that get into the middle of a field in Essex?
Dunno.
I mean, who's been playing with cars up here?
Dunno.
What they're looking for, of course, is ancient material. It's set in England. I think it's mostly filmed in Suffolk, but it's supposed to be set in Essex. And so what they're looking for is ancient materials, like medieval, Viking, Saxon, Roman remains, which they almost never find, right? And this is part of the humor of the show.
What you got?
Pontiac Firebird.
Right, it's a show about hobbyists, and this is one of the reasons I love it. And one of the reasons I'm talking about it here, because I introduce myself always as a fan of many things. This is a show about fans of a sort, right? It's not just fans of a subject, but fans of a particular hobby, a behavior where they go out day after day after day, hunting frequently on the same patches of land for, well, depends, you know, and this is sort of what the show is about. Some of what they're looking for is, you might call treasure, you know, gold particularly. They're always talking about gold. Mostly they don't find gold. They also find, other than the modern litter, the trash, stuff connected to the Second World War, shrapnel, from the Battle of Britain, say, or going back further, buckles and buttons and other bits of ordinary everyday stuff. But finding really ancient stuff, of course, that's the, no pun intended, the gold standard. That's what they're really looking for.
Lovely to see the finds table with such a nice scattering of quality finds here. Good range of buttons and buckles, and half a dozen Civil War era musket balls. Now, I know I've said this before, but although they are common, I find musket balls to be irresistible nuggets of history. Albeit toxic history, and all lead items in your collection should be stored safely and responsibly and out of the reach of children.
And they're looking for it for a number of different reasons, and this is one of the reasons the show is so good, because the hunt for the ancient, what lies under the soil, is really a kind of metaphor for hunting for other things, more ordinary human, personal stuff in their own lives.
You are amateur metal detectors.
Detectorists. Lance says... You don't want to hear what Lance says, do you?
No! I just see little enough for you as it is. And when I do, you're either caked in mud or smelling of Scout Hall. It was the last day of term today. I'm a teacher. I get a stupidly long summer holiday. I wanted to go away somewhere good, somewhere with a swimming pool, but we can't afford it. Maybe we can go away somewhere crap instead.
Just let us find this ship burial and I'll take you wherever you want to go.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. And in the meantime, I'll take you to the Two Brewers for quiz night.
Does it have a swimming pool?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
As I say, the show centres on two in particular, Lance and Andy. Lance is played by Toby Jones, and Andy is played by Mackenzie Crook.
See University Challenge last night?
Yeah.
Anything?
No. You?
Nearly got Benjamin Britten.
You can't nearly get an answer right.
Oh, I had it in my head. Didn't say anything. Chickened out.
Were you on your own?
Yeah.
But you were still too scared to say it out loud?
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
I know.
Should have gone for it.
I know.
And astonishingly to me, Mackenzie Crook, who you'd know from Pirates of the Caribbean, and he was in the original British Office, but remarkably, he's also the writer and the director of the show. And this is a huge thing, very, very unusual. And in British TV, you know, when it says, you know, writer, that is literally what it means. It means he wrote it. Unlike in American TV, where you'll have a writer's room with a lot of people all working together to produce a lot of product, right? And that's mostly because, partly because American TV seasons are much longer. You know, a standard American TV season may have 20, 22, 24 episodes. British TV shows tend to be much smaller, but they tend to be, partly as a result, more like the work of an individual or a few individuals. So Mackenzie Crook is the writer of this show. And without wishing to mystify that connection, I think that's part of its strength, right? Is that this is a show which is written by an actor for actors. And it therefore tends to be, it's very small, it's very quiet, it's very much about the personal, you know, it's about the daily interactions of this little group of obsessive, slightly ridiculous, but in their own ways, sweet and truthful, ultimately truthful people, right?
Whose is the Roman phallus?
Ah, that's mine. Something funny about that?
No.
Right.
Now, the annual club rally is fast approaching and we still do not have a site to hold it on. Does nobody have a permission that we can use?
Well, if the worst comes to the worst, we've been given permission to detect on an old Edwardian rubbish dump out by Morden.
An Edwardian rubbish dump? That's still rubbish, mate. It's disgusting.
Right, well, how long does something have to be in the ground before it becomes archaeology then, Mrs. Ancient History?
Well, at least 100 years, surely.
Aren't we, Sophie? The clue's in the name. Rubbish dump.
Nonsense. The Edwardians threw some fascinating stuff away.
They didn't throw away gold, though, did they?
It's not all about gold, Sophie.
Nobody's going to want to come to a rally. We are absolutely guaranteed not to find any gold.
She's right, Terry. It's just going to be broken glass and china.
Well, until somebody comes up with something else, it's the best we've got.
And as I say, it's about their lives and their relationships and the things, the search for meaning. And as is often the case in the show, I think part of the underlying idea is that, of course, what's most meaningful is what they already have, their relationships, though in keeping with most representations of British men particularly, most of those important things tend to go unstated. You know, their friendships, and this is another characteristic of British TV as opposed to American TV. People aren't going to talk about their feelings very much. You sense it. It's there under the surface, like the gold, right?
Jeez, this is deep. Whatever this is, it's been in there a long time. So anyway, phoned, left a message, nothing. I think I'm losing her. I think I might have already lost her.
Look, there. A glint of gold. There. Look. I saw a glint of gold there, a coin.
Where?
At the side of the hole. Look.
Fucking pound coin.
No. Fucking pound coin. Well, what's that doing nearly 2 foot under the ground?
How old is it?
This year's.
Are you kidding me?
It's brand new.
Right, that's it. I've had it. What am I even doing? I found my gold. I don't need to be doing this anymore.
What do you mean?
I'm done.
Oh, detecting?
Yeah, that was the last straw.
Come on, mate.
No, that's it for me. Done.
Andy? Andy! What about me?
So as I say, there are 3 full seasons, and when I say full seasons, I'm talking about what, 6 episodes per season. There was a special that is inserted between the end of season 2 and season 3, and then there's a new special which I'll talk about more in a second. And each season focuses on a particular dynamic within the group, these metal detectorists who gather together every weekend and have little meetings and talk about what they're finding and issues in the hobby and stuff like that.
Now, Russell, Hugh, how is your lost wedding ring recovery service doing?
Yeah, not bad, Terry. One call out this week, old biddy, lost engagement ring, but I'm not going to waste my time telling you. When you can read all about it in the Essex Chronicle. 2 copies, one for the scrapbook, one for the notice board. Oh. And we were... Sit down. And we were wondering whether we can get a vehicle.
Pardon, a vehicle?
That's right.
What's wrong with a bus?
Well, we just think if we had a DMDC vehicle, it would present a more, professional image.
What kind of a vehicle?
Like the Ghostbusters.
We weren't going to say that. No, not like the Ghostbusters, but something with the logo on the side.
The Ghostbusters logo.
No, the DMDC logo.
Look, I'm not denying that this club is in a far healthier state than it was this time last year, Russell, but I do not think the DMDC coffers are going to stretch to a Cadillac.
But most of the time they're out on the fields with their metal detectors, hunting for stuff. And one of the things that I love about the show is that it is beautifully acted across the board. There's not a weak performance in it. In the most minor characters, everything is absolutely beautifully thought through. These are clearly actors with serious tradition, serious training, and every moment is taken very seriously, and the writing allows that. Though sometimes I should say, there are moments where there's so much going on about a character in virtual silence,
Right now, quiz rules state that everyone must hand over their telephones for the duration of the quiz. Please. Move on. And voices.
But it's funny and it's touching and it's thoughtful. And when I first started to watch it, I thought that jokes were always going to be at the expense of the characters. You know, that they were nerds, they're geeks, if you want to call them that. They're fans, and fans get short shrift in most mainstream TV, right? They're represented as being sort of kooky and weird and not our kind of people, right? Despite that a lot of us actually are that kind of people, right? And this show doesn't do that. Yes, it sort of has a wry, ironic commentary on these people and their obsessions, but it doesn't make them ridiculous, and it doesn't sort of set them against mainstream culture and say, look, all this mainstream stuff is clearly better, right? You know, this is one of the things I love about the show, is that nobody ever talks about sports, right? Or those other kind of things that are equally stupid and meaningless, but they have become somehow accepted because there are so many more people interested in them than there are in, you know, obscure Japanese bands or metal detecting, right? But they have no more value. And this show is one that takes these people and their interests really seriously.
It doesn't matter that me and Bob didn't always see eye to eye. What I am saying is that Bob Cromer ignored some fundamental rules of health and safety. Day one of metal detecting school.
Is there such a place?
No.
So as I say, each season focuses on a different core issue within the group and a core find which they are pursuing, not necessarily successfully, right? And the first season is really about the way that the group is sort of disrupted by the appearance of a new member, while they are searching for a Saxon ship burial. Particularly has disruptions within Andy's romantic life with his long-term girlfriend, effectively wife. The second season focuses on two things: a jeweled medieval astle of garnets and glass, which unusually the show goes out of its way to say does exist. It's there. The question is whether they'll ever find it or not. That's the issue.
Nah, it's not happening. Want to try further up there? Go on then.
While simultaneously looking for the remains of a German bomber. This time the group is disrupted by the arrival of a German student who is searching apparently for the remains of his grandfather's plane, a Junkers Ju-88 that came down during the Battle of Britain or thereabouts. And then, as I say, there's a special which goes after season 2 and is about, I'm trying not to give away too many spoilers, but it's about how when something good has happened within the group, which is rare, it can have sort of weirdly negative consequences, right? And so the special is about working through some of those negative consequences in order to get back to the core group, which is the center of season 3. And season 3 is about the pursuit of what they believe to be a Roman funeral site, cremation urns and gold coins associated with them. But again, it's particularly about the dynamic of the group and the people who are part of the organization. So the Lance and Andy are always the core, and Andy and his girlfriend Becky. But then there's also Lance, obviously. Lance and his former on-again, off-again ex-wife Maggie and her new husband, the manager of Pizza Hut, who she ran off with. And again, I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But also in the group, there's Terry, who is the leader of the group, and he's ex-police and slightly authoritarian, takes himself very seriously. Again, all this represented gently, with kindness, you know, and his strange and complicated, interestingly, surprisingly complicated wife, Sheila.
Speaking of which, Sheila's come up with a novel fundraising idea that I said she could run up the flagpole, see if anyone salutes it. Sheila, love?
Yes. I thought we could do a naked calendar.
No, no way.
Terry could take photos of you all out metal detecting with your fines pouches covering your privates.
Sheila, shut the fuck up. You're not hearing me.
Are you joking,
You're not fucking hearing me. We're not doing it. No way.
Jerry,
Certainly not doing it.
keep them
Fucking
covered.
terrible.
Then there's Russell and Hugh, and the lesbian couple Vada and Louise. Vada, who almost never speaks. It's part of the joke of the character that she's always there, but she almost never gets to speak. And when she does speak, everybody immediately sort of tells her to shut up. Each of these characters is like a little sketch, like one of those old ivory silhouettes or something, you know, something meticulously produced and absolutely consistent from show to show. They have their idiosyncrasies and their peculiarities, but they are, again, lovingly represented, you know, for all their sort of goofiness and such. And it's wonderful stuff. There's a running, the villains of the story, such as they are a rival detectorist group represented by these two guys who look like Simon and Garfunkel.
Who's this? Looks like Simon and Garfunkel.
Hello there.
Watcher.
How are we?
Feeling groovy?
Good, good. Lovely day.
Isn't it? Haven't seen one of them for a few years.
Oh, what, the Arado? Yeah, they're pretty rare these days, but there's still a few out there if you know where to look.
Antique shops?
They're certainly classics, yeah. So you've gone for the CTX?
Good machine.
Bit flashy for my liking.
Yeah, not really your style.
Do you have permission to detect on this land?
Indeed we do. Do you?
Who from?
Not telling you.
Immature.
Are you?
No, you are.
We got here first.
Well, there's nothing stopping us getting permission from the landowner.
Farmer Bishop gave us exclusive rights, 50-50.
Well then, we shall have to see if we can make Farmer Bishop a more attractive proposition.
Who are you, a Bond villain?
We have done extensive research. I assume you have done the same?
Of course.
Yep.
We shall see.
Mr. Bond.
Oh, sorry, mate. Didn't mean to make you cry.
It's hay fever.
Don't cry, mate. I feel awful.
It's hay fever. I forgot to take an antihistamine.
Oh, you want to borrow my hanky?
Not crying.
So a little tissue, mate.
And these are the rivals, the people who the DMDC, the Danebury Metal Detecting Club, are constantly vying with. But as I say, you know, what this is about it's a show about friendship, particularly male friendship, because it focuses mostly on Andy and Land.
Back when the sky was clear and blue, I met a girl who looked like you. But when she opened her arms, I fell clean through. And now I don't know what to do. Well?
That's quite good.
You sound surprised.
I am. I'm astounded.
You think it's astounding?
No, I'm astounded that it's quite good.
Fair enough.
It seems to me clear that part of what they're searching for in looking for these remnants of the past is a sense of connectivity and community and continuity. And this, I suppose, I find this particularly fascinating as a Brit living in the US, because it's one of the things I miss most about the UK, that sense of thousands of years of continual lived civilization almost anywhere in the country, that you could dig down almost anywhere and find remains of the people who have been there before, hundreds, thousands of years before. That's less of the case here in the US. And so this pursuit, I think, is about the land and the people's connection to the land, and the idea that this has lasted all this time as a way of anchoring you somehow, giving you a sense of purpose, of meaning somehow, amongst all the sort of nonsense of ordinary life. That sense of community and connectivity is not just about the people who show up in the club, your friends and your family and so on, the people you know, but also the people who've gone before, right? The dead, to whom you're also somehow connected. And the central metaphor of the show is the idea, I think, that most things of value go unnoticed, uncommented on. They're often underneath, right? That we spend all our lives chasing after things that don't finally matter, or locked into a sort of daily grind of one kind or another. And what really matters is the bonds that connect us with other things and other people, and with a sense of timelessness, right? Even though this is a show about history, it's about connectivity across time, I suppose. Because it's got such a light touch, the writing has such a light touch, you don't actually hear this kind of profundity or pseudo-profundity from me being presented in the show. What you get is these guys who hang out together, making stupid jokes and homespun wisdom about game shows on TV and how to maintain their tools. But ultimately, I think it's about, as I say, connection, friendship, love. Is that too grand a term? No, I think it is. It's about love, the unspoken love between people. But also this sense of trying to reach back into, okay, here's the thing, right? Because yes, they like finding, buttons and ring pulls and buckles and all that sort of stuff, musket balls and what have you. These are pieces of social history. But part of what they're really looking for in the gold and silver and such that they're looking for is not really about things that are valuable. I mean, obviously that has a cachet. I think what makes the gold special is that it was always valuable, right? That it was valued by the people who first crafted or wore these little things, right? That they were things of value to them. So part of what you're doing when you unearth this stuff is that you're forging a link to the people who used to carry this stuff through the object which you both value. Does that make sense? That's what I think.
So that's it then. Wasn't meant to be.
Nope, not this time.
What do we do now?
Find a new permission. Carry on, mate. Got to keep searching.
Do you know why we do it?
No, I do.
Thought you probably would.
Time travel.
Go on.
Metal detecting is the closest you'll get to time travel. See, archaeologists, they gather up the facts, piece the jigsaw together, work out how we lived and find the buildings we lived in. But what we do is, that's different. We unearth the scattered memories, mine for stories, fill in the personality. Detectorists. We're time travelers.
Yeah, all right. I'll give you that one.
Pub?
Go on then.
And I think that sense of temporality also comes from the nature in the show, right? The show has a very distinctive way of representing the English countryside. It'll focus in on tiny little details, on plants and insects and frogs and birds and the little ordinary things which have always been there, right? As the people come and go, this sense of the natural world is always there. Now, you know, part of what the show is also doing is it's asking what it is that we value as a culture, right? What we want to hold on to, because at the outside, just off camera, always there's this sense of civilization encroaching and the values of that civilization. And I think it becomes increasingly explicit in the third season, which is in some ways a masterpiece of television, in that it takes all the themes and ideas and stuff which have been running all the way through the first couple of seasons and brings them together in this immaculately written, perfectly constructed, beautifully acted, masterfully filmed study of connectivity and search for value.
You said there was going to be a rally. Is there still going to be a rally?
Here they come.
I'll see you in a minute, darling.
I hear you're good with gazebos.
Well, it's been a while.
No matter. We can always use a hand.
Hurry up now, we've got a gazebo to erect. We don't have all day to do it.
There are not many perfect shows. I love, as I say, I love TV. There are not many perfect shows, but this comes as close as you can get. And partly it comes close because there are not that many of them, as I say. You know, 3 seasons and a special, now 2 specials. And the seasons are only 6 episodes each. So part of what makes the show so great is that it hasn't burned itself out. You know, all other shows struggle, I think, to keep going with what was initially, you know, whatever it was that made you like them in the first place. And, you know, I should say that if it falls short at the end. I was a little wary of the 2022 Christmas special, just because season 3 was so perfect and resolves itself. That final episode, again, I don't want to give away too many specifics, but if you watch the show, in that final episode of season 3, there are these little moments, most of them unspoken, in which we see an entire series arc resolving in these little moments between characters during this big sort of dig at the end where they're all sort of at the rally. And it's just beautifully done, you know. And then we sort of move forward 5 years, and there's this new special, and this is where it struggles a little bit, and it struggles for a couple of reasons, not least of which is that I think it tries to do too much in a single, whatever it is, 75-minute episode, instead of having the full range of a regular season to develop these things. But the biggest problem is that so much of what is carefully built in season 3 gets deliberately, and I would say clumsily, unraveled at the beginning of the 2022 special. And it sort of pained me to watch it, because we've seen them develop, and again, I'm not going to go into a lot of specifics, but if you watch the show, you'll see what I mean. There's a lot of stuff which is hard won in those previous seasons, which we get to at the end of season 3. Wonderful things, beautiful things, tender things, which then all get smashed up And I understand, as a writer, I understand the impulse for this. And there are a couple of things. One is that you can't write drama without conflict. So you can't have 75 minutes of everybody being happy. It just doesn't work. There's no story there. There's no sense of drama. So there's a lot of stuff that has to be broken in order for things to then get sort of fixed. But the balance of the show, the balance of that special is off. We don't get enough time to fix things. So we get a lot of time on conflict which seemed to have already been fixed, and what we seem to see is characters reverting to old habits and old problems and such in ways that is simply a bit sad, you know. So yeah, and as I say, I think it's rushed. The other thing I would say is that in the previous seasons, the show has always taken history and archaeology very seriously. And they have different ways of dealing with it. Andy is initially a trainee archaeologist and later a real archaeologist. And they take the sense of history and what that history is really about very seriously. And I think that got lost in the special, the 2022 special, where it turns more into a series of Indiana Jones gags rather than serious history. And the payoff really comes very much at the end of the episode, and it's kind of cute and cool in a way, but it doesn't feel like real history. It doesn't feel fully earned, and it doesn't intertwine with the human relationships in the way that the other stuff does in the previous seasons. So if the show is flawed, unfortunately I think it's flawed at the end, and so much so that even though I know the first 3 seasons really well and that earlier special, I don't think I'll ever rewatch that special, the new one. And if you're new to the show, I would almost advise you not to watch it. I think the show is better without it. You'll watch it anyway. I know I would. If somebody said that to me, I'd still want to watch it. But I don't think we needed it. I keep asking myself why they wrote it the way that they did. And the other thing that I understand is that maybe they thought the ending of season 3 was too perfect, too sweet, too positive. And that part of what the ordinariness of life, which is very much a central element of the show, is about, is not allowing things to get too Disneyfied, too romanticized, too upbeat, because life has a way of unraveling stuff, you know, and things that you think you've achieved or fixed break. So I get that. I just don't think we needed it, personally. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything else about that or about the show. Watch it. This is one of those shows you either get or you don't. And it's very British. You will not, if you're not a Brit, you won't pick up all the references. I don't think it matters. I think you'll get the gist. You'll get the general idea. You don't need to know what University Challenge is. It's a quiz show, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. And there are occasional references to specific people. There'll be the occasional joke or historical reference you won't get. I don't think it matters. You'll get the feel of the thing. And that's what counts. So I strongly recommend checking it out. And I hope you like it. I think it's absolutely beautiful and funny and ironic and self-conscious and a lot of the things that I value most. So yeah, check it out. Detectorists. You can I bought it on DVD. The first 3 seasons plus the first special, all on DVD, which, as I say, is all you need. You can also get it on Amazon Prime, on Acorn. Depending on where you live, you may be able to get it on other services as well. And that's all I'm going to say for now. So check that out, and if this kind of video interests you at all, let me know, and maybe I will do some more, turn you on to things that may not have come across your radar. Alright, that's all. As ever, please like, comment, subscribe, check out my Patreon page, buy a book, blah blah blah. The end. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon. Bye.